So what we have here is 3 separate compressors that we're using to compress our drum bus. Hi there, hope you're doing fantastic today. Today we are diving into how to compress your drum bus, because your drum bus gives most of the vibe to the track, let's be honest. Without nailing the vibe of your drum bus, your mix kind of falls apart. So I'm gonna show you today exactly how I compress my drum buses 99% of the time in order to get an awesome, thick, but also punchy drum tone. Hi, my name is Tyson. I'm a mastering engineer here at Dinosaur Dog Mastering, and today I want to show you exactly how to compress your drum bus, but I'm also going to be using some compression styles in this tutorial, and if you don't really follow along, then make sure you're picking up my compression style guide, because that will walk you through all of the 4 main types of compression and how to dial those in on your tracks. It does come with the instrumentation equalization guide as well, so make sure that you're picking both of those up in the description. So the first link in the description should bring you to a page where you can download those guides. Okay, with that said, let's dive into the actual topic of today, which is how to compress your drum bus. Okay, so today we're gonna be diving in how to compress your drum bus, and we have 3 different compressors that we're gonna be using in order to compress our drum bus, plus one little bonus right at the end, just special for you, so you can treat your drum bus like a professional. The first step that we want to do when compressing our drum bus is to add a clipper. And this is a very common technique. The reason that I use it is really as a dynamic control function rather than any sort of effect. What I want to do is I want to clip off any just randomly loud transients inside of the tracks. And if you don't know what a transient is, it's just the initial impact of a hit on the snare or the kick or whatever. It's just that initial peak. So that is a transient. What we want to do first is actually add a clipper, and Logic doesn't have a clipper necessarily. What we have is function on our compressor that says clip. So this distortion, we want to move that to clip. We want to make our threshold and ratio 1:1 and 0 respectively. So this compressor itself won't actually be doing a thing. It's really the limiter that we want to use. So we want to turn on the limiter. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move this back until we get about 1 decibel or so of gain reduction on our meter here. And that is going to basically just protect us from any really loud transients, loud snare hits, etc. that are just randomly loud that are going to clip. It'll just cut those off. So the next compressor that we use isn't going to take that data into account. And if it's just going to correct if we have a very, very loud transient there. So let's go ahead and start clipping here. Okay, so that's about right. As you can see, we're going a little bit above 1 on those initial hits, the tom, it's really loud, but the rest of the one, it's just barely moving that needle. That's exactly what we want. So we're just clipping off the very peaks. Again, we're not using this as an effect, we're just using it as a dynamic tool to reduce the dynamics inside of our drums initially before our next compressor. So let's add our next compressor. So this is step 2. Step 1 is to clip the drum bus just a little bit. And then step 2 is going to be adding some thick type compression. If you are confused about types of compression, I have the guide down below, so make sure you're picking that up if you aren't sure exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about thick versus punchy type compression. But let's dial in some thick type compression. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a faster attack and a slower release in order to get some nice emphasis of the just meat of the drums. And so we're going to start with a fairly high ratio. Let's start with 4:1, see how that goes. And then our attack is going to be about 2 milliseconds. Release, we're going to start about 200. And I'm going to have a slight knee on here just to kind of even things out with this compressor. So let's dive into using this guy. Okay, and so we're getting a ton of gain reduction, which is exactly what I want with this guy. The last step here is I kind of landed on a 1 millisecond or so attack, 270 millisecond on the release. and about 4.8 to 1 on the threshold, or ratio, excuse me. And I'm getting, at the very peaks, I'm getting about 10 decibels of gain reduction. So what I want to do is I want to mix this back so I'm not getting too much gain reduction on the drums, because they sound a little bit too muffled almost with this compression on here. And so I'm going to back this off until it sounds more natural, but I'm getting additional meat on the drums. Play it and then back it off until we get that quality. So when I have this 100%, listen to the kick drum, because the kick drum is one of the louder elements in this, and it's really triggering this compression, and it's going to sound just really kind of choked when we have this at 100%. But when we back it off, I was finding a sweet spot right around 30%, which is usually where I land on this mix knob. So by backing it off, that really you can get that kick drum that has the full body but isn't too choked. So here, let's do a quick A/B. So here's without this thickness type compression. All right, and so that's pretty subtle, but it really does add some meat to that track. We have 2 more steps now to do before we're really done. So now we have added a clipper and then also thickness type compression. Both of those things are reducing the dynamic range of the drums. And so depending on the style of music that we have going on, we might want to add some punchiness back to the drums so we have even more, so we're increasing the dynamics instead of decreasing it. It's just going to be way more controlled at this point. What we're going to do is we're going to add some punchy type compression now. I don't think it needs too much. It's already pretty punchy. So I'm going to be pretty subtle with this, but I'm going to have a longer attack, faster release with this punchy type compression. So let's start dialing this in here. Okay, and so I'm lengthening this release until it's barely getting back to 0 before punching in again. So that's really what I want with the release and this whole compression to begin with. So it's really adding some more emphasis to those really loud transients, really loud hits of the drum, but it's not going to just be kind of wobbling back and forth and create this kind of weird pumping effect. So I don't want that. I just want to add some more punchiness to it. So we did lengthen the release a lot longer than I thought I would, but ultimately at the end of the day, we have nice punchy compression here too. I did back off the mix a little bit, but it's still about 70% mixed in, so it's pretty strong there. One more step left, and that is to add some distortion. So almost all drum buses that I've ever mixed and seen other people mix have some sort of distortion on there, because it adds even more just saturation to the drums that really adds this thickness and more kind of aggressiveness in the drums. Even synth drums will often have some sort of saturation or distortion. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna go to my distortion, just add a good old overdrive plug in here, and the tone's gonna be all the way up. I don't wanna roll off any of the top end tone. And then I'm just gonna get a little bit of drive, probably around 3 or so. Let's listen to this. Yeah, I'm liking what that is doing. So to review what we've already done, we have clipped the drum bus. We have used thickness type compression to get some more body out of the drum bus. Third, we have added some more punchiness to the drum bus to bring that thing back to life after all of the thickness type compression we've done. And then lastly, we've added some more distortion to the drum bus in order to add some just aggressiveness and even a more additional thickness. If you would, leave me a comment down below on what have you been doing on your drum bus. Have you been using these 3 types of compression? And also, have you been using any distortion on your drum bus? To let me know what you have and have not been doing. Again, I hope this is super helpful in you getting more professional mixes. And I release videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to help you get more professional mixes. So don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.